In today's Farm Report, spring planting is almost completed in much of the United States. Cindy Zimmerman with AgriPulse has more.
A week ago, corn planting was running behind schedule, but farmers took advantage of the great weather last week and are now 17% ahead of the 5-year average, with 55% of the crop in the ground, according to the latest USDA Crop Progress Report.
We saw more than one-third of the U.S. corn acreage planted in a single week for the week ending May 3rd. And we did see that phenomenal progress from 19% planted a week ago to 55% planted nationally. That's outstripping the 5-year average pace by quite a bit. 38% is the 2010 to 14 average. Last year, just 28% planted.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says 1/3 to over 1/2 of the acreage was planted in many key states last week.
Illinois, Iowa, also Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, and Wisconsin, all planting at least a third of the acreage during a single week. Top of the list was Iowa, where planting jumped ahead from 14% complete a week ago to 68%. Not too far behind was Minnesota, where we had already seen some good progress. There, progress advancing from 38 to 83% complete.
Illinois saw a 38% increase in acreage planted last week, with nearly half the corn crop planted now, according to National Corn Growers Association Chairman Martin Barbary in the southeastern part of the state.
Oh, we got guys all the way from 50% to 100% done. I would say the area is probably 75% done. We're 70, 75 done ourselves, looking at about a Friday finish. So things are really rolling good. We've had just fantastic weather and sunshine and great weather to plant corn and great time of year to do it.
Barbary adds that the latest precision farming technology helps them take advantage of the weather windows when they happen quickly. We
have better control of what we're putting in the ground as far as, checking on seed population, seed depth, checking, our fertilizer. We run 2 different fertilizers on the planter, and we've got electronic monitors for those as well, plus the auto steer where the driver can pay attention to everything else, and if something goes wrong, he sees it immediately. He doesn't plant for an hour before he realizes something's wrong. So a lot of it is the simple size of the equipment we use. I mean, that's part of it. But along with that, if you didn't have the technology to keep track of everything, you couldn't handle the bigger equipment. It's really helped us to do a better job, more efficient job, and in the end, I think we're doing a more sustainable job.
Reporting for AgriPulse, I'm Cindy Zimmerman.
Support is building for a national food labeling law instead of having one done at the state level. Cindy Zimmerman with AgriPulse has more.
Momentum seems to be building on Capitol Hill to get a national standard for food labeling passed, as hundreds of organizations representing various sectors of the food and agriculture industry signed on to a letter to House members this week asking them to support the Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Act. Among the groups signing on was the Agricultural Retailers Association, and President Darren Kopic is pleased to see movement on the bill.
I'm encouraged that there's bipartisan support for the issue and that it's moving forward in the House. Frankly, I think we can make a pretty good case for this bill, that if consumers really want to know whether there's a GM ingredient in their food or not, regardless of whether that concern is based on scientific fact or health risks or whatever, the consensus is in on those 2 points. But for whatever reason, if a consumer wants to know, the best way to provide that information is a system that's science-based and is consistent from state to state to state, rather than a system that is different than each state or each county across the country. So if we're going to provide that information to consumers and they really want to know, a national science-based system is the best way to do it. But I think what the Pompeo-Butterfield bill has put together is a good compromise that satisfies the needs of those that are asking those questions and lets us resolve this issue.
As yet, there's no companion legislation in the Senate, but CropLife America CEO Jay Vroom is optimistic the bill will get to the finish line this year, unlike a similar bill introduced last session.
The legislation is substantially different from the bill that was introduced at the end of the last Congress. The House moved fast. The founders intended for the Senate to move slower. So I'm not here to make excuses for the Senate, but they'll get around to it. So it's in the House. We would expect it to be introduced in the Senate in the not-too-distant future. And we think it's got a real chance of making it all the way to the president's desk. So to put that issue behind us, to give a clear, uniform pathway for consumers to have an ability to get information that they want, that is supported by the federal government makes a world of sense to us.
Reporting for AgriPulse, I'm Cindy Zimmerman.